Let's take another example, students. Geeta said to Sita, comma, open inverted commas, please get me a glass of water. Full stop, close inverted commas. So the sentence that I have given you here is, Geeta said to Sita, please get me a glass of water. Now in the direct speech, you have the word please. So when you have the word please in the direct speech, students, do not use the word please as it is. So always remember, the word please indicates a request. So when you have the word please given in the direct speech, you are going to change this said to requested. The reason is please indicates a request. So said will therefore change to requested in this particular sentence. So again, said is the reporting verb which is in the past tense. And please, what does it indicate, students? Please indicates request. So what do you call sentences which make a request or which gives a command? Any sentence which makes a request or which gives a command is called as an imperative sentence. So an imperative sentence therefore is a sentence which expresses a request or gives an order or a command. So how can you make out whether there is a request given in the sentence? The request is indicated by the word please. So how are we going to change this into indirect speech? Very simple. We shall write it as Geeta. Now so far you have been retaining the word said as it is. But now you will not write it as said. You will write it as requested. So Geeta requested Sita to get her a glass of water. Full stop. I repeat, Geeta requested Sita to get her a glass of water. Listen, me changes to her. Yes, me changes to her. So the word please is there. Please indicates request. Therefore, said will not be retained as said in the indirect speech. Said will be changed to requested because of the presence of the word please. Now let's take an example where there is an order given in the direct speech. So let's say the teacher said to Jack, comma, get out of the class. Full stop, close inverted commas. The teacher said to Jack, get out of the class. Now, get out of the class is not a request. Please get me a glass of water is a request. Get out of the class indicates a command or an order. So students, do you trouble your teachers in class? Does your teacher ask you to get out of the class at any point in time because you are troublesome? Please do not trouble your teachers. You should get the blessings of teachers, not asking you all to get out of the class. Now, I have given this particular sentence just to show that this is an example of an order while the previous one is an example of a request. So, here you will write it as the teacher ordered. Instead of ordered, you can even write the word commanded. Commanded, any one of the two words you can write, students. You need not write both of them. Either use the word ordered or use the word commanded. The teacher ordered or commanded Jack to get out of the class. Full stop. That is all. Okay, so we have discussed sentences which express a request. We have discussed a sentence which gives an order. So both these sentences which are in the direct speech are also examples of imperative sentence. Because what is an imperative sentence, students? any sentence which makes a request or gives a command, you call such sentences as imperative sentences. Let's take another example, students. The doctor said to the patient, P-A-T-I-E-N-T, comma, open inverted commas, take care of your health. Full stop, close inverted commas. The doctor said to the patient, take care of your health. Now, said is the reporting verb, which is in the past tense, and you have the sentence, take care of your health. So, if it is a statement made by the doctor to his patient, or a lawyer speaking to his client, or a bank manager talking to the customer, generally the word said will not change to requested. It won't change to ordered. The reason is there is no request made, there is no order made. Then what does it change into? It changes into advised. So the word said, which is a reporting verb, will change to advised. Now please remember, these kind of changes will be made as long as it is a statement that is made by the teacher to her student, by the parents to their children, by the doctor to his patient, by the lawyer to his client, by the branch manager of a bank to his customer. That time, please take care to see that you change this reported verb, which is said, to advised. So how are you going to write this particular statement in the indirect speech? The doctor advised, A-D-V-I-S-E-D. It is S and not C because it is a verb. The doctor advised the patient to take care of his or her health. The doctor advised the patient to take care of his or her health. Now I have given it either as his or as her because patient could either be a man or a woman. If you consider patient to be a man, then you will write his. If you consider patient to be a woman or a lady, then you will write her. So both are acceptable. Either you write his health or you write her health. So the doctor advised the patient to take care of his health or to take care of her health. Why, students? It could either be his or her because patient is a common gender. What do we mean by a common gender? It could either refer to a male or it could refer to a female. If you consider this to be masculine gender, then you will write it as his. If you take this to be a feminine gender, then you will write it as her. So either you can write his health or you can write her health. So now we'll move on to a few more examples. With that, I think you should have a proper understanding of the rules that you should bear in mind while changing the sentences from the direct into the indirect, also known as the reported speech. So let's move on to another example. Now so far, students, if you have noticed, we have only discussed sentences which are there within the inverted commas ending with a full stop. We haven't discussed sentences which are in the direct speech which end with a question mark or which end with an exclamatory mark. So let's do one or two sentences where the sentence given in the direct speech ends with a question mark and where sentences given in the direct speech end with an exclamatory mark. Even then, the word said will change accordingly. So far you have learnt, if there is a word please, what should you remember? Said will change to requested. If there is an order or a command given in the direct speech, said will change to ordered or commanded. If it is a statement made by the parents to the children, made by the teacher to her students, made by the doctor to his patient, made by a lawyer to his client, statements which are made by the branch manager of a particular bank to the customer, that time said will change to advised, because you have legal advice, you have medical advice, right? So said will change to advised. Now we will move on to sentences which end with a question mark and which end with exclamatory mark, and see what changes will take place when you are changing from direct to indirect. So shall we take another example, students? Rita said to Geeta, comma, open inverted commas, hooray, we have won the match. Full stop, close inverted commas. I repeat the statement here. Rita said to Geeta, hooray, we have won the match. Now, look at the word hooray. You have learnt that there are 8 parts of speech. And the very last part of speech that all of you have learnt is interjection. How can you identify whether the given word is an interjection or not? All interjections, children, end with an exclamatory mark. So, hooray ends with an exclamatory mark. Therefore, it is an interjection. Now, what is an interjection? Any sentence that expresses the sudden feelings of the mind. It could be that of happiness, it could be that of sadness, it could be that of shock, that of surprise, that of wonder. So that time we generally make use of an interjection, and an interjection must and should end with an exclamatory mark. So Rita said to Geeta, hooray, we have won the match. So obviously hooray expresses this is an interjection. Hooray is an interjection, and this particular interjection expresses happiness, or you could even say joy. Nobody feels unhappy when you win a match, right? You feel happy when you win a match. So hooray is an interjection, and this particular interjection expresses happiness or joy. So what is going to happen to the word said? It is going to change accordingly, because there is an exclamatory mark. So you cannot say Rita said to Geeta, we have won the match. There is no exclamation at all. You need to have that happiness denoted in the sentence that you have written. So whenever there is an exclamatory mark, students, use the word exclaimed. Instead of said, you will replace it with the word exclaimed. Now, how are you exclaiming? You are exclaiming with happiness, or you're exclaiming happily. So, you will change this to Rita exclaimed happily to Geeta that they have won the match. Rita exclaimed happily to Geeta that they have won the match. This is how you will change it into the indirect speech. Now, instead of hooray, there is one more interjection which will express sadness. And what is that interjection which expresses sadness? It is the word alas. So, you could even say the next example as Sita said to Rita, Sita said to Rita, comma, open inverted commas, alas, exclamatory mark, my dog is dead. Full stop, close inverted commas. Sita said to Rita, alas, my dog is dead. Now this word alas is again an interjection. Now this particular interjection, unlike the word hooray, expresses sorrow or sadness. So how are you going to therefore change it? Sita exclaimed sadly to Rita that her dog was dead. Sita exclaimed to Rita. How did she exclaim? She exclaimed sadly to Rita that her dog was dead. So let's write this particular sentence in the indirect speech, students. Sita exclaimed sadly to Rita that her dog was dead. Sita exclaimed sadly to Rita that her dog was dead. Why did I use the word exclaimed? Because there is an exclamatory mark after the word alas. And alas is an interjection which expresses sadness or grief, and it is certainly not expressing happiness. Nobody feels happy at the death of someone. So Sita exclaimed sadly to Rita that her dog was dead. So whenever there is an exclamatory mark, students, said will change to exclaimed, and you need to see whether it is that which is expressing happiness, or whether that exclamatory sentence expresses sadness, or whether it expresses surprise, shock, wonder, and accordingly change it into the indirect speech. Now we'll move on to one or two sentences in the direct speech which end with a question mark, right? So if we finish that, then we have discussed almost everything that needs to be discussed regarding transformation of sentences from the direct to the indirect speech. Now let's go to one more example. Sneha said to Neha. Say Sneha said to Neha, open comma, open inverted commas, why didn't you come to school yesterday? Why didn't you come to school yesterday? Question mark, close inverted commas. Sneha said to Neha, why didn't you come to school yesterday? So far we have done sentences which end with a full stop, sentences which have an exclamatory mark. Now we are moving on to another kind of sentence, and that is the sentence in the direct speech which ends with a question mark. So what happens to said, which is the reporting verb? That said will not be retained as said. You will change it into the word asked, because there is a question mark at the end of the statement which is given in the direct speech. So said is the reporting verb which is in the past tense, and there is a question that is asked. So what is going to happen? Said will not be retained as said. Instead of said, you are going to make use of the word asked. And now I want you to focus your attention on the word didn't. See, many times I've heard of students pronouncing D-I-D-N' as didn't. That's wrong pronunciation, students. Do not say didn't. There is another word in the English language called didn't, and the spelling is D-I-N-T. By dint of hard work, I came up in life. That is, because of my hard work, I was able to come up in life. That is the meaning the word D-I-N-T gives. So here it is D-I-D-N''T. This D, the second D that you see in this word, is not a silent letter. So when it is not a silent letter, you should not be pronouncing it as didn't. You should pronounce it as didn't. So now coming back to the transformation of this sentence from direct to indirect. Sneha said to Neha, why didn't you come to school yesterday? And the other day when I was giving you examples of the rules, etc., I told you there are certain words like today and this day will change to that day. Yesterday changes to the previous day. Tomorrow changes to the next day or the following day. Okay, so you have the word yesterday. You cannot retain the word yesterday even in the indirect speech. You have to say it the previous day. That is the change that you have to make when you are changing it from direct to indirect. So you will say Sneha. Since said is not going to be retained as said, what is it going to be changed into? You are going to write it as asked. Why are you changing said to asked? Because there is a question mark at the end of the sentence. So Sneha asked Neha, why? Now we have already learnt, if it is already in the past tense, if the sentence given to us within the inverted commas is already in the past tense, then it changes to past perfect, which is the only word that indicates past perfect. It is had. So didn't will not be retained as didn't. How are you going to therefore change it? Sneha asked Neha why she hadn't come to school the previous day. Full stop. Please do not put a question mark because you're not allowed to use any other punctuation marks other than a full stop in the indirect speech. It's a force of habit, right? The minute you see the question mark, you feel like putting a question mark. And what is your teacher going to do? Remember, transformation of sentences from direct to indirect students will carry 2 marks. So, half a mark of it will be deducted because you have used question mark instead of using only a full stop. So, though it is a question, still you are not going to put a question mark. Instead, you will only put a full stop. We have discussed this long time back, and many times we have discussed that you cannot use any other punctuation mark other than a full stop in the indirect speech. So, Sneha asked Neha why she hadn't come to school the previous day and only a full stop. Okay. Now, let's go on to one more example. Prema said to Lavanya, comma, open inverted commas, why are you crying? Question mark, close inverted commas. Always the close inverted commas must come after the full stop or after the question mark or after the exclamatory mark. Please do not put these punctuation marks after the close inverted commas. Whether it is full stop, whether it is a question mark, whether it is an exclamatory mark, all that must be put before the close inverted commas. Now, Prema said to Lavanya, why are you crying? Said is the reporting verb which is in the past tense. Right? And there is a question asked. And what is the question asked? Why are you crying? So how are you going to change this? This is reporting verb which is in the past tense. Are is the auxiliary verb which is indicating present tense. So we have already learnt that if the reporting verb is in the past tense, this sentence which is in the simple present will therefore change to simple past. So said is also going to change to asked. Why? Because it is ending with a question mark. So Prema asked Lavanya why she was crying. Full stop. Now, why did I say use the word she instead of you? because this you refers to Lavanya. Since this you refers to Lavanya and since Lavanya is the name of a girl, I have written it as she. Supposing I had used the word, what should I say, Rama or Jacob or Ramesh, then what would have happened? You would have changed to he because they are the names of boys or men. Lavanya is the name of a girl. So therefore this you which stands for Lavanya will change to she when you are changing it into indirect speech. So Prema asked Lavanya why she was crying and please end it with a full stop. Clear, students? Now shall we quickly recall all those rules that you have to bear in mind while changing from the direct speech into the indirect speech? Now I'll just quickly recall it for you and then we shall wind up the class regarding direct and indirect speech. So shall I tell the rules slowly and carefully so that you can understand what is being said? If the reporting verb is in the past tense, then the sentence given within the inverted commas will change from simple present to simple past, present continuous to past continuous, present perfect to past perfect, present perfect continuous to past perfect continuous, past tense also to past perfect. And if there are sentences where you have an exclamatory mark or you have a question mark, then what is going to happen? The said will change to exclaimed or it changes to anything else with exclamation you can say, or you could simply say exclaimed, that is better. So exclaimed, said will change to exclaimed if there is an exclamatory mark that is used in the direct speech. Then I also told you if there is the word please in the direct speech, what does it indicate, students? It indicates a request. So when you are changing it from direct to indirect, instead of said, you will use the word requested. If there is an order or a command mentioned in the direct speech, then said will change to ordered or commanded. And then if it is a statement made by a teacher to her students, made by the parents to his or her son or daughter, if it is a statement made by the doctor to his patient, by the lawyer to his client, by the branch manager of a bank to his customer, then said is going to change to advised. And you should be careful, the spelling is A-D-V-I-S-E-D. Okay, and today or this day will change to that day, yesterday changes to the previous day, tomorrow changes to the next day or the following day. Fine. So these are the rules, students. Please bear these in mind. Now there is also something more which I need to highlight. All those modal verbs like will change to would, may will change to might, shall will change to should, can will change to could. All this only when the reporting verb is in the past tense. And one more thing what I need to highlight once more is if the sentences given within the inverted commas express universal truths like there are 7 days in a week, there are 12 months in a year, then Sunday is the first day of the week, cow is a useful animal, etc. or dog is a faithful animal, the lion is the king of the forest, or the sun is at the center of the solar system. All these are universal truths. There are 365 days in a year. There's leap year once in every 4 years. So all these are examples of sentences which express universal truths. So when you have sentences expressing the universal truths, students, please remember not to change the tense. It will continue to remain in the present tense. I hope you have understood this entire exercise of transforming the sentences from the direct speech into the indirect speech. Now, since you're all SSLC students, you don't have to worry about transformation of sentence from indirect to direct. That kind of a question will not appear in your examination. The only kind of sentence that you can get in your examination paper is transforming the direct speech into the indirect speech. Thank you, students.